It was Huey, thinking he was in fact talking to the real Rocky Balboa. "Are you going to blood us?" he asked. "Oh, yo, of course not, little buddy. You know why? Because Rocky Balboa is a friend of yours." "When are you coming over?" Think up a lie, Mick. Think it up quick. Think of the Grinch and Cindy Lou who is no more than... All right. I'm thinking she was going to answer, but... Okay. But you did a good job. You know, Huey, The Rock is in training right now, so he's kind of busy. But what time will you be here? Well, your friend Rocky is going to be training for quite a long time, like 2 or 3 months. But the questions kept coming. I was running out of things to say, so I just started quoting random lines from the first movie. "It's a cold night out here, you know." Even though it was daytime and about 75 degrees. A good night for a basketball game. So there you go. There's a couple readings from Countdown to Lockdown. And now, this is something else I don't really agree with. But be it Barnes & Noble, sorry guys, but they want me to like put on this like TNA show. So I'm going to just take off the shirt. Oh, it's a Q&A? Oh, I can keep my clothes on? Okay, all right. It's a Q&A. So if anybody's had any questions, please raise your hands and fire away. Thank you. This is the most foolish author signing ever, right? Okay. All right, who's got a question here? And I should say that I know that it can be very nerve-wracking to ask a question in public. I know that because I went to see former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright speak, and she called on me. She said, "The young man in the black and red flannel shirt." And even though I had addressed many thousands of people simultaneously, I froze. I did the Cindy Brady during the quiz show episode. And just as someone else about to grab the question, I finally blurted it out. So don't be afraid if you feel shy in the presence of a New York Times #1 best-selling author, okay? Okay, who had a question? Yes, sir.
But the Flair match was amazing last night.
Oh, the Flair match, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And not so much a specific question, but can you just talk a little bit about, like, you know, you and Ric Flair and what led up to that match and maybe the aftermath that we didn't see?
Yeah, what led up to the match? You know, honestly, someone from TNA came up. They thought I was going to be disappointed because I said, you know, we really need something on the live TV special to get people excited about the pay-per-view. And you know, would you and Rick mind wrestling on Impact instead of the pay-per-view? And right away, I mean, not to downplay how important pay-per-views are, but you know, there's a much larger audience watching the live TV. And to be honest, in some of my television appearances, I've just tried to get through them and not get hurt. And I mean, at that moment, I resolved to, you know, really try to give people a match they could remember. And my only question was, will we have a chance to do a promo? Promo is the in-ring interview, and they said, yes, you will. And for those, you know, who follow wrestling, they know that, you know, some of these promos can seem a little overly scripted. So if anyone saw the verbal give and take between me and Rick, literally the only thing he knew is that I was going to challenge him to a match. The only thing that I knew is he was going to make a mention that I was a pretty good father who ought to stay out of the ring. And so there was a lot of spontaneity, which is good, but when that spontaneity includes your opponent punching himself in the head until he bleeds, and your natural response to that is to punch yourself in the eye until you bleed, it can get a little crazy. So it was, but those were, you know, two of my favorite wrestling memories. So I'm glad I had them back to back, especially this late in the career. So it was really cool. Yes, sir.
I got a question. Was your TNA match Ric Flair? Was there still like the backstory? Was there like the storyline from WWE with the whole?
Oh, the backstory. Well, the announcers were alluding to 20 years of, you know, bad blood.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they weren't 20 consecutive years. You know, it was like a year here in 1990, and then some bad feelings in 93, and then some really bad feelings in so if you combine them all together, it was maybe only like 3.5 to 4 years of bad blood. But yeah, that did play into it, definitely. All right, we had hold on, I like to get a mixture of people. So I'm going to go with the young lady in the front row.
Hey, I'm afraid this isn't a wrestling question.
That's okay.
I'm a women's studies student at the University of Central Florida, just down the road.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to thank you so much for all the advocacy work you do for RAIN and for Child Protection.
Oh, well, thank you. Did you, she a women's studies student at University of Central Florida?
Yes.
Down the road, and she was thanking me for the stuff that I've done for RAIN, which stands for Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, and Child Fund International. You know what? For those of you who are looking forward in the future to maybe, writing a book and donating the advance to the causes you care about, it's probably a good idea to let your wife know about that before she reads it on the cover of your book. But I was, I felt honestly like this book had come about through this, unique circumstance of meeting Tori Amos, and that was her group that she co-founded in 1994. And when I started learning a little bit more about RAIN, I saw that this was, I felt like it was a problem that everyone knew about, but not many people were talking about, especially in a lousy economy. And when people were talking, they tended not to be men, and the men who did talk about it were usually the rare victim who was brave enough to come forward. So it's been said that you don't win battles with your likely allies, you win them with your unlikely allies. So I'm very happy that you asked that question. They don't have to be wrestling. They don't have to be wrestling questions. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, Brian Kendrick. All right.
On page 98, if you don't mind, it says, on the wall in the kitchen was a large framed photo of all the dogs sitting in chairs. Celebrating a birthday, they had party hats on. Now this makes me think of other poets who write for the heavens, Bob Dylan, John Lennon, Lewis Carroll, stuff like that. So I guess, Mick, my question is, was that your intent, of writing for the heavens, or is there a deeper meaning that you'd be willing to explain, or is it supposed to exist purely in the abstract?
This book works on so many different levels, Brian, that it might affect your ability to enjoy it if I were to give you my interpretation. So I put it out there for people like you to digest, and I'll be